And finally, the fourth piece of how you can create more time is to click less and connect more. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, hey, I love my technology. And, that's how you and I are reaching each other today, right? If it wasn't for our amazing technology, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I think there's a big question that we need to ask ourselves. And it's, are we using technology or is it using us? Are we responding to the buzz of our phones, or is the first thing we're doing every morning is flipping through our email before we're even thinking about, hey, what kind of day do I want to have? How do I feel today? What would success look like today? And I'm a huge fan of the technology that's evolved. I mean, it's given us more power and freedom and flexibility than we ever could have imagined. And that's just in our lifetimes. But no one has taught us any rules. No one has said this is the way that we integrate this into our lives. We've sometimes created our own rules, and we haven't always created them to our own benefit. I have clients who say, oh, well, I have to answer emails right away, or I need to be on top of it all the time. But do you? I think there are ways that we can click less and yet connect more. I've often talked with my clients about setting up what I call a click-free zone. For example, one evening a week or one afternoon that you are click-free. And I have a client who was feeling very overwhelmed and just feeling like he didn't have any time, and also just starting to feel restless and just like tired all the time. And we made a deal that he was going to do an experiment and to try a click-free zone. And he just did it one night a week from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And he was really anxious about it. And he's like, well, we're not doing anything at that time. I'm just sitting at home with the kids, and it's really easy for me to keep going through email because that just helps me not to have to do it tomorrow or the next day. And so I challenged him to try, staying click-free. And he did it. And the next morning he called me and said, I didn't think it was going to work. I didn't think I was going to be able to stay, off my phone that long. And I almost gave up and went in to get my phone and, start to catch up on it. And then I realized my daughter came over and she sat close to me, next to me. And she sat at the hand where my phone usually would be. Where usually my hands are full, busy, scrolling down my phone and poking around at things. But she just came over. And, and then he said, how many times might she have wanted to come over and sit next to me before? But I was too busy with my phone. So a click-free zone might be good for not only your career, but it could also be good for your life.